Welcome to Porch Play Chats, sponsored by the American Association for the Child's Right to Play, or more affectionately called IPA USA. IPA USA is the USA affiliate of the International Play Association, and as part of our mission to support play, we've introduced Porch Play Chats. And these are just conversations with people who are just as passionate about play as we are. I'm Deb Lawrence, and I'm president of IPA USA. With me on the porch today is Zach Bramel. Hi, Zach.
Hi, how are you?
We're so glad you're here. Zach is a Playcosystem. Did I say that? Pronounce those syllables right?
It's a play on ecosystem, so
Oh,
Playcosystem.
okay.
Yeah.
Playcosystems, yeah. Who is the coordinator, and Claude Stephens is the director to discuss, and they work together to discuss this 12-year journey to foster a community that values free play, supports the development of trained play facilitators, and values play leaders as professionals. So, Zach, when you're doing this work, you're doing it in the community, right, with partners. Talk to us a little bit more about how you develop that sort of system of support and trained these wonderful play facilitators and work with those play leaders. That's what I'm curious about.
The outreach we do in the community.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
I think people can model what you do in their communities.
Yes, we want to help people learn, and we're constantly learning ourselves. Just to understand our approach, let me talk about the geography of Bernheim a little bit. We're situated in on the edge of Bullitt and Nelson County in Kentucky. It's rural Kentucky, about 30 minutes south of Louisville. So that's where we are. We've been striving for a long time around issues of accessibility and making sure that everyone feels comfortable and invited to Bernheim. And so when we started looking at who wasn't here, who wasn't playing on our playground, that really informed who we started to reach out to. And our reach, we're trying to broaden it, every week. We reach out to a lot of folks in Louisville, specifically the west end of Louisville. And we know that we're going to be accessible several ways. There's several aspects to that. There's the design element. We want to be accessible in our design of Playcosystem, and we can talk about that more. Playcosystem, for those of you who don't know, is a 17-acre nature playground. It's huge and massive with a spectrum of play and graduated access points all over it. Jenny and Claude have been building it for years. I'm fairly new on the playground, 5 months, though I've worked there before for several years as a contract worker. But to our partners, the other component of that community outreach is just that outreach in programs aimed at communities and families who might be experiencing barriers access to Bernheim, whether that's transportation, feeling like it's not for them, feeling like they're just not invited or welcome or safe there. And so the outreach and then the relevant programs that are inviting specifically those families, that's a little bit how we do that.
Well, and I think that for those of you who are listening, this will be played before October. So I think it's going to be in August, maybe. In October, IPA USA's 2025 conference is at Bernheim Arboretum and Research Forest and at the Kentucky Science Center in Louisville. So it'll be Wednesday, Thursday in Louisville, and Friday will be at Bernheim. And so Bernheim, with this play ecosystem, is one of the opportunities that individuals who are coming to the conference get to experience this amazing place that has created an arboretum that has a focus on children and engaging children in play that is not directed by any adults. So an amazing place, a wonderful opportunity for children to explore, but kind of like forest schools, not every parent can get them to Bernheim. Not every parent can pay the rates for the forest school. And so this is an opportunity to get them out in a forest setting with play equipment. And so do you, I know that Jenny works on play design with them on their playgrounds and how to bring in more nature, which is, I think, fabulous. And she also did a Porch Play Chat, which will be airing soon. Um, and and I know that the work that Claude is doing is and you are doing are really working with those child development programs. And can you talk about how you're increasing access to either to Bernheim or to nature where they are? If they, I mean, it's a long 30 minutes of a long bus ride for young children.
Yes.
Not horrible, but that again is a cost to get them back and forth from Bernheim too.
Yeah, it's a cost, and it's something that the adults have to schedule, and it shortens your stay here. You know, it
Mhm.
impacts the amount of time you can be here as well. So they're all barriers for sure.
Yeah.
So um, how are we helping with all that? Well,
Do current and what your dream is.
okay, all right. Well, it's important to have all of our play days be free. There is a suggested donation at the door, or at the gate rather, but the play days are free. So we're doing away with that financial barrier to begin with.
Okay, can you tell me how often play days happen at Bernheim?
About once a month, though this spring we've got funding that's funding 2 play days per month in March, April, and May. So that's the big spring series kickoff.
That's great.
Um,
And they're typically on the weekends, so families come on the weekends or they come during the
Right.
weekdays.
Saturdays are big days for the play days, but the playground is open whenever Bernheim is open, Monday through Sunday. So if we're open, families can come. But to your question about increasing accessibility with partnerships and design work, those community partnerships, that outreach that Claude and Jenny have been doing for years,
Mhm.
they've built strong relationships, and we've gotten pretty well known in the region as play advocates and play professionals. Now that we have Playcosystem, we also have a physical representation of our ideas, our hopes, and our dreams, and what we've been doing to come and see it realized. And that's a very inspirational aspect too. Out of all that, Claude and Jenny are increasingly busy with their design work. And Jenny probably talked with you a lot about that, working
Great.
for rural schools, for city schools,
Mhm.
public schools, private schools, daycares, other
Mhm.
institutions. Uh, and that's a lot in Louisville, but also some in Indiana. And then they had a great trip to Oakland, California, where they were working with the Oakland Unified School District. Yeah. So there's that. And then I think the other angle of approach for accessibility really is just learning about free play. We
Mhm.
do that with public trainings. We try to have at least 4 trainings per year. We kind of have them divided into 2 parts. So there's a part A and a B, and we try
Mhm.
to offer those parts A and B twice a year so that people can get what we call certified free play. They can become certified free play facilitators. Now that's through Children at Play Network, CAPN, which is our initiative at Bernheim.
Mhm.
But we feel like that 4 hours of training, part of which is practicum at a play event, um, gives them the foundational knowledge to support kids in their play without directing it. And
Nice.
and that's, I feel like, I mean, that alone increases children's accessibility to play, because
Mhm.
then they've got grown-ups in their lives who are offering them free play events, you know, at centers, at home, at parks in Louisville. That's another goal to accessibility, is these trainings. We want facilitators to come help us at Bernheim events, but we've got lots of partners with parks in Louisville that are doing play days that we want to support, and we want to support them in part with community members who
Mhm.
are trained in free play principles and
Oh,
strategies.
goodness. And so, I think the biggest battle IPA USA and people who are play advocates has is helping people understand that what the definition of play is from a play person's sort of perspective. And so, we always look at Peter Gray's definition and we look at Stuart Brown's adding on definition about what play is. But when I'm in a classroom with college students and they're in education and I ask them, what is play? They'll say, oh, it's, something that kids do when they go out on the playground. And I said, okay, and what happens on the playground? Well, teachers are pretty much not interfering on the playground. And I said, okay, that's what play is everywhere. So, we have to go. And they look at me like, I'm teaching an infant and toddler course this semester, in addition to others. But in the infant toddler course, I'm already concerned about what they think is age appropriate for toddlers in specific ways with a daily schedule that is totally teacher directed. And so, as their professor, I sit there and push back and say, this is way too structured for toddlers. This is not how toddlers learn. Here's a better way. I'd like you to try it for a week. And so then I give them sort of the huge free play, teacher follows children's lead, flop and do's on the floor, like Karen Miller used to tell us. If you want to sing songs, which they need to hear, and do finger plays, which they need to do, you flop on the floor and you start doing one. And if they come, they come. And you read books, you just pick up a book, or a toddler brings you a book, you sit on the floor and start reading it. And if they come, they come. And so it's that whole piece where it's not the teacher that leads, it's the teacher that follows. And that is a really hard thing for them to get over.
It's a hard thing, yes, to explain, to tell somebody about, which is why I think showing people is extremely effective. That's how I came to free play. I was originally hired by Claude as he was starting the Children at Play network here at Bernheim. He put together a team of free play facilitators. The first ones here at Bernheim, there were 5 of us. And what our work was really was, popping up free play days around Louisville, around Bernheim. That was our way of exploring some of the ideas, concepts, goals that Claude was developing with the Children at Play network. What we were also doing was sort of testing the grounds of Bernheim to see where we wanted to locate our playground, which was great. We got to play in all sorts of different corners and nooks and valleys and hills, and we found just the right one. And so it's where we landed the playground, which was great. But my introduction to free play was really a lot by doing. Watching the Children at Play Network team talking about what was happening. And that's a lot about what the training is. We have one whole session that's just talking and explaining the play cycle, the principles, some definitions. But the second part is going on site and really, really watching. We have Playcosystem, which is a huge tool for us to educate people what free play is. So when they get here, we're a tremendous resource for explaining, for showing people what free play is. And when you see it, and when there's an adult talking to another grown-up, and also keeping that grown-up out of the play.
From interrupting. Yeah.
Right. So in doing that, explaining the play, you can really see the light bulbs go on. And we have the advantage too of families coming repeatedly. We have regular visitors whose experience and knowledge build over the seasons and years. And so they become more versed in free play. And that's how we're building our community of play advocates.
I love it that it's at the grassroots and you are helping them understand what they see happening instead of being concerned that it's not safe or that someone's going to get hurt or and I think that observation, which is, the primary tool we should be using when we're assessing where children are in their development so that we can, offer additional materials or equipment that they're ready for, or that when they show us they're ready, that observation piece and helping people see how integrated that learning is across every domain of development when children are playing. And I do that with college students when I take them outside. So we go outside several times in the semester in every class. And one of the times is when we're doing gross and fine motor development. So I jump ropes and we have jacks and we have checkers, the big, huge, what is it? Big
Jenga.
yellow thing. And you put the like big, huge.
Connect four.
Thank you. We have
Or
a big,
5 or
huge
10.
Connect Four out there. Yep. Thank you. And we do sidewalk chalk and we do parachute and we do potato sack races and we do all that stuff, right? And then and it's just there and they do it. I don't say now we're going to do this until the parachute, because it takes lots of us to do the parachute because it's big. And as soon as I go walking toward the parachute, they all come anyway because they love that. And so the what we do then is after we've been out there for 45 minutes of an hour and a half class, then we come in and I put up all the domains of learning up on the whiteboard and I say, go tell me what you did in each domain. And they fill top to bottom all the way across a 4 by 8 foot whiteboard with what they did in each one of those domains. And then I look at them and I say, so what were you doing? And they were, well, we were playing. And I said, yeah. And who was directing, telling you what to do? Well, nobody was. And how long could you stay in a particular activity? As long as we wanted. And okay. And did I restrict you and tell you to stop something? Oh no. Oh no, we were playing. And I said, that's play. And they are like, oh. And it's a light bulb moment for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
That you really have to have people experience it.
Yes.
Yeah. So they need to watch it, see what's happening, and experience it all in that sort of cycle that helps them recognize the value of what they're seeing and what children are doing. So, that's why I love what all of you are doing at Bernheim, because you're not only creating this beautiful place for children, but you're also helping other people recognize the value of that place as well as the value of play.
Yes. And that's one of the things I'm most excited. So I think I've said this. I'm only in this position 5 months. So I haven't really turned on yet. It's still winter here. It's not even spring. I'm very much I've been making a lot of plans and I'm getting ready to do. And come March 8th, that's when the doing starts. That's our first big play day. And so from then, I'll be a permanent presence on Playcosystem. I'll be an advocate for play, an ambassador to parents. I'll be a play worker at the same time. I'll be managing the play library, which is under construction right now, where I'll have a library of loose parts for kids to check out, whether that's hammocks and books or paint and art supplies. Eventually, I want tools. We're not there yet because we're an arboretum and we can't be nailing into trees and sawing branches and things, but we'll figure that out. I have faith that we will. But the point I wanted to make was we were talking about lights going on, and when somebody rounds the corner and becomes a play advocate because they understand it, that happens a lot by seeing, as we've said. And one of the rooms that the lights are turning on for me that I'm really excited to explore in my time here is who else benefits from play. We
Mhm.
know the children do, and people like me are so lucky to have people like you and Claude, the researchers, the people who had the years of classroom experience and come at it with a wealth of knowledge. We were talking about Muppets before this conversation,
Mhm.
and I've heard before that you can sort Muppets into two categories. There's the chaos Muppets, and
Mhm.
there's the order Muppets. I'm very
Mhm.
much a chaos Muppet. So I'm very glad to have the order Muppets as well. Um, but this is all to say, free. I'm interested to see how free play benefits more than the children, how the parents and grown-ups benefit from knowing about free play,
Mhm.
how teachers, of course, benefit from free play. Um, we're actually we're we're looking at an idea for we're writing a grant actually for perhaps working with communities, parents who are struggling with substance use disorder, who
Mhm.
elect to be in a program. We've got to establish these relationships with the recovery houses and stuff. We're not there yet. We're still establishing this, but we think that free play um, ideas might benefit not only the children of the families with members who are struggling with SUD, but the
Mhm.
parent who is struggling themselves.
Yes.
And looking at that the betterment of multiple parties and the relationship between those parties. We're also uniquely positioned so that Bernheim could be, a third space, safe space and
Mhm.
healing space for families to come together in that way after a time. Reunification, perhaps. These are all just ideas and dreams, but it's kind of
But
it's kind of the
but
thinking we're trying to do to bridge the ideas of play and health.
so one of the things, and you should also look at the senior health. And there's a wonderful person um, in Canada who is doing work with seniors and in recognizing that seniors need places that they can go and do things they're interested in doing, right? So that you have a stronger senior population if they are able to follow their interests. Well, anyone, if allowed to explore and discover interests, it's play is healing, right? It's going to help them feel accomplished, increase their self-esteem, make them feel like they can try things, all of those elements of self-concept that have them see themselves differently than how they currently see themselves in their self-image, right? Someone who's successful in doing something, right? So for me with teachers, um, what I see when teachers are allowing children to have large blocks of time to play in the classroom, I see teachers getting back to the joy of teaching
Mhm.
because it's not teaching, but it's watching children develop. And they can go, oh my goodness, Billy couldn't do that last week. And they go quickly. They're so excited. Instead of trying to teach, they become those facilitators where they're the support person in the room and they're able to observe all of the development that is taking place with young children and be able to share with parents where children how far children have come without teaching much at all. I mean, singing songs, doing finger plays, reading books, um, but setting up the environment where the children are able to follow their own interests. And then children are joyful, behavior problems go down. Teachers begin to rediscover the joy of teaching instead of being so frustrated and leaving the field because they've been
I'm
trying
I'm
to control them.
I'm so glad to hear that. I'm so glad to hear you report that. I'm not in classrooms a whole lot just because of the nature of the work that I do. Most of my work is out of classrooms.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. So,
It doesn't happen frequently yet, but people are beginning to shift. I think play is becoming more of is becoming more accepted as not something other than just recreation, right? And that play isn't sports. And
Play is making inroads for sure. And
yes.
I think our all of us play advocates are doing a great job of working from the ground up. I think we're starting to do from the top down too. And so
Mhm.
pretty soon we'll meet in the middle and play will just be
It'll be the primary mode of childhood. I always say, as children, as I don't know about your childhood, Zach, because I'm much older, but my childhood was all
mhm.
play.
Yep. And mine
12
was in nature.
day.
Mine was in nature too. Mine was in rural Kentucky, in the woods, in the fields, around the ponds.
Mhm.
Yeah, building forts. Yeah.
Just playing, just, and I didn't have siblings we lived on 5 acres in an old 100-year-old
Oh,
house.
I've heard you talk about your tree climbing before.
Yes, and tree climbing and all of that fun stuff. But I played with no one else except my dolls and the animals. And, and I was very social by the time I went to first grade. Thank God there's someone here I could play with. But it's a it's what children don't have now. And so one of the biggest things that I want people to understand is that we have to protect childhood.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
have to.
Yes.
And right now we're not. So we'll have much healthier, happier adults if they can play as children, because that's how they develop. So we have to close out. We've only got a couple of minutes. What are some final things, Zach? Because I think the work you're doing, and I just want to say to folks, make a partnership with your arboretum.
Yeah.
Maybe offer to do some professional development for schools that are coming to those arboretums
Yeah.
because they're going.
Mhm.
And so maybe if you could develop partnerships with those arboretums, then you could begin to make inroads into helping families and teachers recognize the value of child initiated play instead of adult driven play. Okay, I'm gonna let
Part-
you close out.
Well, I was just going to say partnerships and community are more important than ever right now.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
we're already as a play community, I feel like knitted together. The challenge now is just expanding that network and that community. And I feel like it's easy because play ideas are so inspiring and
mhm,
joyous and
mhm,
fun. And we've talked a lot about light bulbs going on, allies being made, but the idea is infectious. And once somebody I feel like is introduced to the idea of play, the principles, the work that's um, going on, the benefits of, they're all in. And that happened
mhm,
for me. We didn't talk a whole lot about my background, but I've worked with children for over 20 years. And as soon as I learned about free play, it infected all of all of the work that I did working for children. Um,
mhm,
most recently, working in a museum, Fraser History Museum up in Louisville, which is an institution. And we did free play in the institution of the museum with artifacts and cases and vitrines and in the galleries. We did it carefully and maybe not as free as, an
we would
adventure
like. Yeah.
playground, right? But a little bit is better than nothing. And the way I grew play there was Pop-up Adventure Play says this: start small, start now, and keep going. And that's what I did. And by the time I left there, we had free play peppered into our field trips, definitely our camps, which is what I was managing there. We had multiple points of free play throughout the camp structure. So our idea is wonderful. I'm just trying to spread it further and wider and say it louder and to especially to people who
And,
maybe are a little bit further out of hearing distance.
well, that's exactly where I was going. Sometimes if we brought superintendents of schools to Bernheim during a play day, or your local representative or city council person,
Mhm.
or the mayor, to play day and just had them observe. We, a long time ago, they were called child watches. And they were done by, I have to not get the names confused. It wasn't No Child Left Behind, but it was Leave No Child Behind. And then President Bush decided that he would like use some of their name. And the child watches, I did many of them, and we always took legislators, city council people, superintendents, principals on a bus, a Head Start bus, and we had different things we wanted them to look at, you know, because we needed funding for it, right? So one of them was, let's go with a mom who has 2 children, a single mom because her husband left her, a single mom with 2 children that needs to drop off her children but doesn't have a car. So she has to take public transportation and she has to drop her children off at 2 different locations. And then she has to get to work on time. And so sure enough, we met the mom and 2 children at 6 a.m. on a Friday morning with everybody on the bus. And we took her path to where she dropped off the baby at 6:30 and went in and then had to come back. And then they had a before and after school program at the public school. So then she dropped off her 7-year-old at the public school at about 7:15. And then she had to still stay. And we went on public transportation with her. So we took them on a bus to where she got on the bus and we went on the bus with her. And then we had to go while she had to wait for another bus to take the 7-year-old. And then we had to go while she had to wait to go back to work. And then we came and got them again and we made them do her trip home. And they said, oh my God, you know, she got home at 6:45, I think, at night, and she had left at 6 that morning. And so, you know, those things, having them walk the walk is really beneficial in changing minds for the system. And so anyway, I wanted to leave you with that. Child Watch is amazing.
I love ending on that invitation of, yeah, just making sure that we're doing a good job of inviting and influencing, hopefully, change makers.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we can do it this way, but we also have to do it this way. So, Zach, thank you so much. Stay right there while I close this out. Right. To learn more about IPA USA and to find all of these Porch Play Chats, and there's almost 300 of them, go to our website at ipausa.org, and up in that top right-hand corner, you're going to find our Facebook, and so be a friend. You're going to see our Instagram, so follow us, and you're going to see the YouTube channel, so subscribe to us. And magically, every Monday morning, a new Porch Play Chat will appear in your feed. So until next time, keep on playing.